As President Donald Trump rolls out his agenda for the U.S. presidency, it's already raising global concerns for world peace and stability. Strategic alignments with strong economic interest among the Committee of Nations. Where does Nigeria and Africa fit in this renaissance? I'm suitably delighted to have the Chairman, Senate Committee on Interparliamentary Affairs Worldwide, and an executive member of the African Parliamentary Union, Senator Jimoh Ibrahim. Glad to have you join us on Prime Time, Senator.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you. Trump has ascended power, a raft of executive orders, and then he's saying, he's not started his tariff, but he's saying for Mexico and Canada 25%, he will carry out a tariff on those two nations. What's your sense of his speech, the tariff?
Well, thank you very much. Understanding Donald Trump requires that you distill international theories to what is happening in America. Who is Trump? Is he a liberalist or a realist or a conservative? So if you find Trump to be a realist, you will expect characteristics of realist in his foreign policy affairs. If you see Trump as a liberalist, then you expect that you see liberalist policy. Now, let's start with America. America is a democratic liberal state, but Donald Trump is a realist. So there is some sort of conflict here. That's a realist running a liberal state. What is a liberal state? Converging nations that believe in cooperations and collaborations to resolve things and other new international beliefs. Now, one example of a liberalist home here is Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He's a liberalist, he's not a realist. So again, when you engage foreign policy, you see situations where a liberal Tinubu is going to discuss with a realist, Donald Trump. Now, who is a realist? A realist is somebody who has aggressiveness for power pursuits in the state of statism. And that simply means that they believe something unusual will happen tomorrow, and they need to prepare for it today by acquiring power. And that is Donald Trump. So in terms of political economy, you will see tariff, because obviously speaking, realists want to make the money now because they don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But they believe that there is need to get aggressive money today in order to secure tomorrow, or aggressive military equipment today in case there is war, political insurgency, or conflict. So we are not going to be buying, those ammunitions when the conflict occurs. But we have to buy them now in preparedness towards the company having.
A senator, son, like you, Sonny, he calls him a disruptor. That's what he calls him. He says he's a disruptor in terms of his, basically what you've explained.
Yeah.
In relation, okay, let me talk about the world. You have NATO, you have allies, and then maybe you bring it down to Africa and Nigeria. His stance, what should the world expect? Even from what he's doing now.
I don't think it's as bad as that. It's not a distractor or a disruptor. No, I don't think so. That is the characteristic of realism.
Is he not already doing it?
No.
He talks about 25% tariff on Mexico.
No.
And then he's talking about birthright.
Yes.
Yes. Which is against the Constitution.
Even withdrawal of signature from the climate change treaty in Paris.
The WHO.
Isn't it? Fantastic. What he's trying to do is to show that, look, it's internal democracy about America first, not America using our resources to sacrifice the entire global system. Let's look at it from, preparedness to save America's sovereignty. You want to say sovereignty is hypocrisy, because no country in the world have absolute sovereignty. But he is saying that America is distorted by the doctrine of sovereignty practice. So we need to recover America back. Don't forget his conclusion. We need to do more impossibility. And in fact, America is good at doing impossible things, according to Trump. That is how the realists behave, and that is how they talk. So if you look at the conservative, for example, you will distill the taxonomy and the praxis of Trump. You know Trump better when you look at his character and his leadership quality. That will tell you what you want to discuss with him. In fact, presumably, what report you get from Donald Trump when you have issues with him or discussions with him. So here is somebody who is saying, America will take you at my mind first. I'm going to do everything in compliance with your liberalism theory. But when I engage Panama, I'm going to recover Panama back because we never give it to Chinese. We gave Panama canal back to Panama. We didn't give to China. But China is running it. So therefore...
China is not running it. He is claiming that China is running Panama, but China is not running
That
Panama.
is realist for you. It's looking for where to strike, whether you like it or not. So he has two caps. The first cap is comportment with ideas and reality of liberalism in consonance with American democratic principles. Second one, himself as Trump. I'm going to be the middle person. I'm not going to just sit down here quietly as Trump. So I'm withdrawing my signature, from climate change. What is so special about that? Because America is the second highest polluter of environment in the world. And they must pay for it. So the money, the $2 in America cannot pay for pollution, even in Africa. Because why Africa is impoverished and is in poverty driven is because the environment is polluted and they cannot react to the impact of climate change. So he's
drawing America away from their responsibility.
So that they don't pay the polluter. Because the demand, after signature of the agreement, is that wherever there is pollution, you have to pay for it. The polluter must pay. But he is saying, I won't do that. Remember also in Kyoto Convention, the Senate in America didn't pass that convention because obviously they just felt that they cannot take responsibility for polluting the world, for damaging the environment.
And he has said recently that America, in his time, they're going to drill and drill and drill oil.
Yes.
In terms of the fact that Nigeria is a mono-dependent economy on oil, how should Nigeria and Africa be positioning itself in terms of Trump, who is regarded as the man who handles things based on deals and deals?
I think we started that at the foundation of this interview, that America is a liberal democratic state. Trump is a realist. You know who realists are and how they behave. So if Nigeria is going to have issues or have discussion with America or Africa borderline, then you have to understand that you are going to deal with a realist in the liberalist state. This is very important. So once you know that, it's very easy to deal with him. To engage him in international relations and diplomacy. That will not be a problem at all.
So what will be how would you engage him?
For example,
terms of what you're saying?
For example, I do know that Trump America presidency portray a bad omen to the international institutions. I don't need anybody to teach me that. And Nigeria must recognize that. It won't be a good day for United Nations because the realists believe
already has shown
that international institutions are epiphenomena. They don't have a mind of their own. So therefore, we send them back if we have to do. That's the realist. But again, the birthright of international organization is traceable to the liberalists, who believe that it is when the world converge, collaborate, and cooperate that we can order a new international order. And don't forget, at the center of international engagement is power, interest, and authority. So whose interest is Trump pursuing? He has told you, America first, and America second, and America third. But not that we will stay there as cool, as quiet as we expected. We're going to close our border against any other person. We don't want to see them. We will tax foreign companies and use it to enrich Americans. These are not three. If we tax foreign companies, what is the end consequences of taxation? It ends with the person who buys the goods. Who buys the goods we are taxing? Americans. So if you say you tax Google more, a Chinese company,
it's going to fall back on America.
Because America uses Google product much more. So you see some conflict policy decisions, of a realist with a liberalist, and usually the liberalist and the realist are not always on the same page.
What do you think? Is there going to be more other chaos? Because he said, he started by saying something like, I think there's a place he said, I want to bring peace, But then it looks like the decisions he's making do not tend towards that. He said on his first day in office, bring peace to Ukraine and Russia. But he didn't mention Putin. He didn't mention Ukraine.
But you know that Russia is a realist. I mean, Putin is a realist. He's not a liberalist. So you will know, he will agree with Donald Trump, who is also a realist. They will be on bed together because these are two realists. They understand what they're talking about. They are talking about power, aggressiveness, acquisition of power, you know, to solve or resolve crisis or statism.
So what does that leave the Ukraine-Russia war?
That means that
he said that is the interest of,
yes,
Putin to deal, and he says that Zelensky wants to deal. Those were his words.
Yeah, deal means several things. Is objectively subjective. Deal, what it means to you, what it means generally. But I can tell you very clearly that Putin will agree with Donald Trump because for reasons that the two of them are realists, they are not liberalists. And I think we can contain war and political insurgency in that region. That will be first advantage, you know, which must be on the table. The second one is to look at the trend of China as well as America. You know, again, who are the Chinese? Are they liberal? No, they are not liberal Democrats. China has never claimed to be a democratic liberal, you know. But when you come back to the Middle East, again, you see what is happening with Britain. And then drive down to the Africa system or Africa democracy or foreign policy. Again, I think it's going to be a good engagement. We should not lose hope because what Donald Trump is trying to say is that I'm aggressive about my internal democracy. Nobody is taking that from him. But for the rest of the world, I'm prepared for whatever you want to do with me or that I want to do with you. I never mind, as far as the interests of Americans are protected.
Why does his executive order, about 1,500 that stormed, in fact, Nancy Pelosi said, he calls what Trump has done an outrageous insult to America's justice system. Schumer, the former Senate Majority Leader, says Trump is ushering a golden age, because that's what he said, but he says it's offering a golden age for people that break the law and attempt to overthrow the government. What does that leave America's democracy?
Again, like I told you, these are interest engagement. Yeah. If Donald Trump ran into crisis during his campaign or during the first time and people were arrested and is back to office, he can decide to free them. There is nothing you can do about that. He has the constitutional power. Now, if you look at the former and immediate past president of America, he even give pardon to his children who have committed offense. And that, so it's about interest, political interest, where it is situated within the context of liberal democracy of America. You know, and that's why I said the consequences of Donald Trump coming in is obvious to the international system. For example, he will not believe in the international organization. He may not fund them. So obviously, you expect a very tough time at the United Nations. And again, decisions of United States nations binding on America, even the Security Council, you expect some bit of challenges. Implementation of those decisions, you expect some bit of challenges because the realists don't believe in international organization. Like I said, they say it's a phenomena, meaning that they don't have a mind of their own.
I know that let's come back home. I know that the Senate or the legislature is tinkering with the electoral reforms. Where are we at electoral reforms, and why has it been, over the years, difficult for Nigeria to have credible and transparent elections, unlike Ghana, Senegal? Some blame politicians like you, some others blame INEC.
Well, you can't compare Nigeria easily with a small country like Ghana. Ghana is like Lagos State in population, in landmass.
Does that mean we should not get our elections right?
Well, we should get it right, but again, you know we are very big. There are a lot of converging complexities around our election. We are just, how old are we? You can't also compare with America, who got its independence, you know, some 400 years back. But that is not a defense for getting things right.
Good.
Now, the Tinubu government has come with an agenda of conducting free and fair elections, but at party democratic level, you know, distilled into the national system. And I think this takes time. Electoral reform, too, is a constitutional issue. It's not something that the Senate can just sit down and say, I'll pass, you know, because you have to go through constitutional reform to ensure that things happen. Now, INEC have to bring demands, and we also have to conduct what we call public hearing to make sure what is the interest of the public and in which way do they want to go. And we have to also publish whatever laws that we propose that will be passed for the public to consume and make their own contribution towards the law. This is a dynamic of bills at the National Assembly. Even when the committees, any committee, Electoral Reform brings their own paper, we also have to debate it extensively. And the Senate President is going to be a distillment of every of the sections in the proposed bill to see that actually it go with the Renew Hope agenda of having a democratic value for any election. But again, most of these things are also very expensive, and they're not easy. But we just have to do it because democracy is first, agenda in the value stick of the Tinubu administration.
INEC is an acronym
for
Independent National Electoral Commission. But the angst, or let me say, what I should say, the worry for Nigerians is that INEC is not independent.
Yeah, all this.
How can, the reforms,
yes,
especially when it comes to funding, they say the piper dictates the tune. Who pays the piper? So how can these reforms, is making INEC really independent included in these reforms?
The issue of independent is subjectively objective again. What do you think is independent to you and what is it to me and to Nigerians? You can't have a consensus around the definition.
I guess Nigerians want an electoral body
that
can look the president in the face and say, you lost an election. Or a governor in the face concerning state and say, this is our stand, and he stays without being influenced.
Even if there are limitations there, which I agree with you, right? It's also the case that the court can say so, the judiciary can say so, and they have been saying so. Many governors have been removed by the Supreme Court. Did the war come to an end?
Does our elections have to get into the courts?
Well, every election gets to tribunal or court. Sometimes you compromise.
Ghana just concluded the election. We didn't hear of anyone going to the court.
That's what I'm saying, that is Ghana. Ghana with 12 million population against 350 million population.
That's something good we can take from them. And I hear in Ghana, you don't hear things like cross-carpeting.
Well,
you're in this party, you're in this party.
I don't know.
Which is in Nigeria, you even hardly recognize which one is APC, which one is PDP, because today a PDP stalwart is in APC. Tomorrow, an APC stalwart is in. They are like birds of the same feather.
That is the value of Chapter 4, Section 35 or 36 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Freedom of association, freedom of movement, freedom of moving from one party to another. And if that section is there, what is INEC going to do about it? Is INEC going to be, if any provisions of the Electoral Act is in conflict with the position of the Constitution, to the extent of its inconsistency, is void and unenforceable. Attorney General of Bender State, Attorney General of Federation. So people claim rights that are embedded in the Constitution. And when these rights are fundamentally, enforced, you come back to say again that there are pains, or is paining me as is the sweet them. Apology to Wiki. So obviously speaking, you see this type of converging complexities around, which we need to resolve. But I can tell you that our democracy is not as very strong, or, it takes time to grow. It's not something that you expect that all the vulnerabilities of the democracies will be solved in one day. But I think we are moving in the right direction.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the economy. The president is promising a 1 trillion economy with a budget deficit of 13 trillion and a debt servicing of 15.8 trillion. How feasible is this?
Very feasible. You have a deficit. The budget is 49.7 trillion.
That's what
to get it right. And then the deficit financing of the budget is 15 trillion. Now the debt servicing component of the budget is 16 trillion. Now if you add 15 trillion to 16 trillion, you give you 31 trillion, minus 49.7 trillion, you will see that the president is really helping Nigeria. Things are really bad. Nigeria was left by the last administration a financial dangerous lane, where you have 30 trillion printed by ways and means, and which doesn't, linked to any development project like infrastructure or mega project system. But so if Tinubu administration is coming to manage an economy with 31 trillion of the 47 trillion in compromise, detained, then we need to give them kudos. That's the best budget I've ever read. It's the best budget I've ever seen. There are good rationality behind the thinking. Now, using 16 trillion to service debt is 68% of revenue generation. But in the last administration, we were servicing debt with 96% of revenue. That is why I said we left things at financial dangerous lane. We are just coming back, grasping the fresh air and moving forward. So when you look at a deficit of 15 trillion, it means that money is not available. But don't forget, he told us how we get money. He had said clearly that I will increase production of crude oil from 1.2 million a day to about 2.02 million a day.
So I'm saying that this...
Wait a minute, and I'm going to spend 5 trillion on national security to make sure that I achieve that. If you achieve that, then of course, what is the worry? And again, external reserve was $40 billion as at the time he was trading the budget. So it means that Nigeria is getting things right and is on the right path.
Are we really getting things right? What overview?
Yeah.
Before I break it down, we have some minutes to go.
Yeah.
More Nigerians have gone into poverty, multidimensional poverty. There's hardship, there's anger, there's hunger in the land. It can't be denied anywhere. So what do you make of the reforms? Both will come into the text and talk about
it. But I can tell you very clearly, I agree with you completely that it is not the fact that some Nigeria are not going into the net of poverty, right? And that is clearly the reason for reforms. In America, with Clinton reform, more America will go into drive down into poverty line because that is the consequence of reform in the short time. In the long run, you have benefit of people also coming out of the net of poverty because poverty, they are not seated there forever. They don't have a permanent seat there. Now, in the case of this present administration and the Tinubu reform, don't take Nigeria away from global economy. If global economy financial outlook is growing at 3.2% and Nigeria is growing at 3.5%, do you think that Nigeria is doing badly? Because again, I deal with data. I'm a data science person. I don't deal with rumors of narrative that are not correct. I deal with figures, empirical evidence. Now, I have the global outlook. I have the regional outlook. I have Nigeria outlook for 2025. So where did we go wrong? And then for Tinubu government to be paying this debt down and then servicing it at 62%, 68% to GDP, are we doing badly?
Let me say something about tax. I know the governors have agreed,
yes,
but they're saying a new VAT sharing formula.
Yeah.
I just had a tax man live here. He said Nigerians are being overtaxed and that because Ghana has reduced their VAT from 17, like he said, to 3%. And one is wondering, why can't Nigeria do this? He said Nigeria can bring tax from overseas, Nigerians who have companies overseas. But we're not able to do that because we don't belong to OECD.
I want to disagree with you completely on that last person that came on tax. I did my LLM in tax.
Okay, you watched it?
Yeah, I did my LLM tax in 2000 at the Harvard Law School. Let me tell you, 18% of Nigeria are the people on the tax net. Now you have 72% of Nigeria not on the tax net at all. Should you increase the number of people to the tax net, then you won't make more money.
Yeah.
Tinubu says he's not doing that. Because of the 72 that are not in the tax net, majority of them are poverty people. They are people that are driven by poverty. We can't bring them to the tax net again. They will create more problem for them. So he says my tax reform is simple. I'm going to take certain millions of Nigeria completely, they don't have to pay tax. Again, your income is subject to your tax. So if you are making income less than a certain amount of money, don't bother about tax. We don't worry you. Either you are individual or you are a corporation. But if you make income above this limit, then you go into tax net. So what the government is doing is partial and full tax integration to ensure that the economy is moving forward. Otherwise, if I were the president, I could easily put, increase the people that go into the tax net from 18%, say to about 30%, and make more money. But the impact is very huge. Let me make a simple comparison here. In England, 95% of the people are in the tax net. And the growth rate in London today is 1.0%. So how do you look at this? So do you want to leave 78% not tax? Yes, for now, until they have economic power that you can tax. And that is what the tax reform is talking about, if we have to look at it in critical terms.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before we let you run, because the time is just flown, democracy elections 2027. if you look into your crystal ball, what do you see? Do you see an alignment against APC? I mean, some people are complaining that the Nigeria seems to be dovetailing by the day into a one-party state, your party. Do you see an alignment? Do you see a P2B, Atiku Abubakar? The PDP, they have a challenge of the South-South. They want to get a president from there, or the presidency should go to the South. What do you see generally about 2027 election?
2027 is about performance. As long as the government is performing, it is difficult to send the government that is performing away in the face of conflict.
So would you say that...
Let me give you, just basically look at the tax. I expect the governors in the north, what I expect the northern governor to do is not what they are doing at all. Because there's a case before the Supreme Court by Lagos state government saying that VAT is a sales tax, and therefore Supreme Court should order that they have right to collect that tax and government have no power over VAT. I'm talking about economic power. If Lagos state wins that case, what happens? The whole state in the north will be affected, and they cannot change the judgment. So people should appreciate Tinubu. He is saying, let's forget about that case of Lagos State. Let's look at this tax and harmonize all we needed to have.
Nobody.
But finally, let me say this to your question about engagement of 2027. 2027 is already determined in the sense that
already determined.
It's determined by performance of the government.
Because I was going to wonder.
It's determined by the performance of the government. I don't have regret saying that. As long as this administration is performing, 2027 is determined in their favor. Legitimacy, which is acceptance, is based on legal and moral parameters. Now, the moral parameter is that the government, is performing. To a performing government, who do you give for legitimacy? Now, when Donald Trump came in America, you remember what happened. People say, oh, he cannot win the election. But he says, look, Americans, I want to recover this company from immigrants and hand over to you. It belongs to me and your father.
That's sold for him.
So to me, it's about democracy.
All right.
What is Tinubu saying? I take you away from financial dangerous lane. I give you new renew hope agenda. I create a new life for you. And then you become better and better. And therefore, where does the vote go?
Nigerians will tell you that they're not seeing that hope.
They will see.
Anyway, Jimoh Ibrahim, Chairman of the Committee, Interparliamentary Worldwide. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. Nice engagement with you.
All right.